The following program does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the staff, management, or ownership of this station.
The following pre-recorded program is brought to you by Vertuvian, a Texas-based registered investment advisor.
Now, let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Hello, hello, hello. Once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You're listening to the Angela Box Show. I have a new producer. Everyone say hi to Steven. Hi, Steven. Corey, as I mentioned last week, has gone back to teaching full-time. So now Steven is here, and we're just going to continue to kick ass and take names and plow along. Lots going on today, as per usual. I was like, I don't know what I even want to talk about, but I actually do. You guys know that in the first segment, I kind of like to tell you dumb things I'm watching or thinking or whatever, and today is no different. By the way, as I sit right now, as I tape the show right now, it is 10 days until my wedding. I will be a married woman. Yes, hell will freeze over, and I will be someone's wife. I mean, no one is as surprised but me. But before we get into the meat and the potatoes of everything of this week, there's a few shows that I've watched that I want to tell you about. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm just going to stipulate this. I watched this show only because I wanted to see how bad it is. And I know that probably half of you out there are going to be like, oh, I know what she's about to say. What is it, ladies and gentlemen? Say it with me. With love, Meghan. With love, Meghan. Yes, the new Meghan Markle show dropped on Netflix, who they paid $100 million for, although Netflix now denies that they gave $100 million to these two grifters. But it was something along those lines. It was probably like $99.9 million. And they're like, no, it wasn't $100 million. It was only $90 million. I mean, like, anyway. So this thing has just been completely panned. And let me kind of try and describe it to you. So Meghan Markle, who, before she married the Ginger Prince, Prince Harry, who she pretended she didn't know. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who the royal family was. I had no idea who Princess Diana was. I've been living under a rock my entire life. That's the garbage that she sold Prince Harry. And he's so stupid. He's like, okay, well, darling, I guess you didn't know who my family was. Carry on then. And everyone else is like, what? That's just, yeah. Anyway, not believable. Okay, so Meghan Markle, before she was married to this guy, that's the only reason she's relevant at all, obviously. She was a, B-list actress, and I'm not going to take away from the fact that she was a working actress, but she got the job because her father was in the industry, okay? She's a pretty girl. She's a middling actress. Not interesting. She's a charisma-free zone. Just, as someone famously said on one of my channels I watch, she's a charisma black hole, all right? I can't take credit for it, but that's what it is. So she marries the prince. She had this website called The Tig, and it's this lifestyle website, and she's like, oh, I'm into like traveling, and I'm into clothing, and I'm into all these things, and it's like, yeah, me too, sis. And there's all kinds of rumors about how she got to travel so much, and maybe that she may have met Prince Andrew prior to saying when she did, if you catch my drift. That's a whole little rabbit hole you can go down. Here's the point. Netflix decides that the charisma black hole Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, who could barely get through high school, but okay, like these two are going to make them just oodles and oodles of money, and that everyone's just going to fall over themselves because they're just so amazing. They're not amazing. It's been widely known that she's a terrible person. He's, whatever he is, but she's like a really psycho malignant narcissist, like 100%. So anyway, I decided to watch this show because it's just gotten panned, just like even places that you would think would be up her netter, like the Washington Post or the Cut or the New York Times, LA Times, all of them are like, this is bad, y'all, this is bad. So I'm like, okay, if they're saying it's bad, it's got to be bad. Well, I watched an episode or two. I fast forward through, a few minutes of it. It's bad. Now, it's not bad in the sense that it's like a train wreck. It's bad in the sense that there's nothing to it. She literally is like giving you tips about, lifestyling, I guess. And she's like, oh, you have to elevate everything. when you're in the kitchen or in your home, you must elevate things. And so she literally would take a bag of pretzels, peanut butter pretzels from Trader Joe's. We love Trader Joe's in my house, but I want to elevate it and make it more appetizing for guests. And if a guest is coming, you want to make them feel like that you were thinking about them. So I'm going to take these peanut butter pretzels from one plastic bag and I'm going to put it into another plastic bag, and then I'm going to put a ribbon around it and write a note on it that says peanut butter pretzels. You guys, I'm not kidding. That's what she did in this show, and she sprinkled like edible flowers on everything. Like, it was bad. It was bad. This is like, someone said this week. I can't remember who it was. I think it was maybe Megyn Kelly or Maureen Callahan, who was on the show with her. Something like, this is basically the death knell of millennial culture, of like, the millennial idea of, having your side hustle type of thing. It's like, this is Meghan Markle's whole life is a side hustle. And again, if you can make that work for you and you have some ability and charisma, like, hey, sis, preach, do it all day. But she doesn't. She doesn't. And it was really cringe. So that was fun. But I didn't watch that many of them because I don't want to give Netflix the views. But, it was hilarious because everyone's like, okay, this is so bad. This is going to get canceled, right? And then Netflix came out and they're like, oh, season 2 has been announced. And then everyone's like looking behind the curtains and it's like, well, actually, they already filmed season 2, or series 2, as they say in England, and they're just using the footage that they already filmed. I guarantee you that no one's going to watch series 2 of With Love, Megan, and after this, Netflix will wash their hands of them. But, she got a lot of money out of it, so I hope they've invested well. Let's put it that way, because if you don't invest well, it goes bye-bye pretty quick, especially with the lifestyle that they lead. Okay. There's this other show, this English show, that I highly recommend, and the new season is finally out. You guys, Am I Being Unreasonable? Steven, have you heard of this? Am I Being Unreasonable? Okay. It's so good, you guys. It is so good. It's this, her name is Daisy Mae Miller, and she's just this very unlikable character. It's a very dark comedy thriller type of thing. If you're not into like dark comedy, you're gonna be like, oh, heavens to Betsy, but it's very good, and the story's very good. So the new season's out. Unfortunately, I will note that Daisy Miller had her lips inflated during the filming of season 1 and season 2, and so her lips are very distracting. But other than that, it's a great show. Highly recommend. Okay, then here's a rabbit hole for you guys. Okay, I'm gonna say some words here that you're gonna think are not related at all, but yet I'm going to make them make sense. Okay. Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, CIA, the Manson murders, and chaos. What am I saying? All right. There is a book, and now it's a Netflix movie called Chaos. All right. And basically the premise, and I'm not kidding you. You need to go watch it. It's a book too, but I don't have time to read a book. Candace Owens has been talking about it a lot. So when I saw it on Netflix, I was like, okay, let me watch this. Basically, the premise is this. The CIA did the Manson murders. Okay? Now, someone like me who's a true crime junkie, like, my love language is, tell me about a true crime case. I'm like, oh, let's talk about that case. So I know a lot about the Manson murders. A lot. Top to bottom, I know the whole theory, helter-skelter, the whole thing. So the premise is that actually helter-skelter was not the premise, and that Charles Manson was not groomed by the CIA necessarily, but identified by the CIA early on. The CIA was kind of embedded in the Haight-Ashbury culture of the 60s, and they wanted to break that culture up. They knew that it was getting to be a pretty big culture, and it was causing a lot of problems with the Vietnam War and things like that. So they had to break that up somehow. So what they were trying to do, if you know about the Manchurian Candidate, things like that, MK Ultra, mind control, they were trying to identify charismatic leaders. And again, this is the theory. Okay, this is the theory. Trying to identify charismatic leaders who could maybe bring about the end of the hippie culture. Now, how did Charles Manson do that? Well, so there is this Haight-Ashbury clinic run by a guy named William Jolly. William Jolly, who was involved with MK Ultra. Okay, so William Jolly was embedded in Haight-Ashbury. His whole premise was that he was going to be treating these drug addicts and for venereal diseases and whatever. Well, Charles Manson went into that clinic with his family, his girls, all the time. And so if you understand how charismatic Charles Manson was, which he undeniably was, 100% charismatic, also very smart. Forget the mass murderer psycho part of it. He was a very smart person. The whole premise is that he was identified as someone who could maybe be used to see how mind control worked, how that could be used in order to get people to do certain things that maybe they wouldn't, because the author Tom O'Neill was like, well, would you? Like, think about how crazy this was, that these people were following this like little midget man. He was tiny. He was a pocket person. And following him to the ends of the earth and, like, doing anything he said. Like, it was crazy. And it's like, would you do that? Would you go into, like, a random stranger's house because some little guru told you to do it and, like, slaughter them? A stranger? Like, it doesn't make sense. So, if you understand how the mind control thing works, you understand how Manson could possibly have worked. Now, how this relates to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. They've hired some former CIA guy named Nick Shapiro. Nick Shapiro, who is running point for them now to, like, get them out of hot water that they're in with this PR disaster with Justin Baldoni, etc. Nick Shapiro, former CIA analyst or whatever, contact, is one of the guys that put together the 51 intelligence officers who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was fake and Russian disinformation. And then Vincent Bugliosi, who prosecuted the Manson murders, okay? If you understand that maybe the Manson murders weren't what they said they was, and Bobby Beausoleil, who's in jail for another murder, was like, Charlie wasn't into all that. Yeah, he talked about that stuff, but he just wanted to get other people dirty. He just wanted to make sure that he wasn't the only one with dirt on him. That's why he had all the other people go and do that stuff. It had nothing to do with starting a race war and all that stuff. But Vince Bugliosi put it out that it was. And then, here's where it wraps up and it's crazy. At the end of Vince Bugliosi's life, who was a prosecutor of the Manson murders, who became a kabillionaire because of Helter Skelter and selling it and selling the movie rights and all that stuff, right? At the end of his life, he wrote a book called Case Closed, which was, quote unquote, the definitive post-mortem of the Kennedy assassination that basically said that Lee Harvey Oswald did it all by himself. I ask you, my friends, does anyone really believe that Oswald killed Kennedy on his own now? I don't think so. I don't know, guys. It's curious. That's all I have to say about that. All right, we've got Tony Ortiz's current revolt coming up, and we'll get to some actual news in the third and fourth segment. You're listening to the Angela Box Show. Be right back.
It's conservative, air combat, armed and ready. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Welcome back to the Angela Box Show. On the line, I've got my friend Tony Ortiz from Current Revolt, and his name is Tony, so I have to say it like Anthony Soprano. Hello, Tony Ortiz from Current Revolt. How are you?
Angela, hey, how are you?
How are you? Oh, so super to have you, darling. Okay. There's some things I wanted to bring you on about because on last week's show, I let listeners know that, God love him, Dan Patrick. I mean, well, it's Dan Patrick and the Baptists, okay? The Baptists, they have to ruin everything. What am I talking about exactly? Set it up for me.
Well, I think you're referring to the what is it, the hemp ban?
Yes.
The weed ban, essentially, right?
And it's not just the weed ban. People get this twisted, okay? It's not like we're not legalizing weed. There's a very small amount of THC that is currently allowed in certain CBD products, Delta 8, Delta 9. It's a very low level of THC. So basically what the state wants to do is get rid of all of it and have, like, insane fines and, like, prison sentences for people who distribute it, make it, and even possess it. So they want to go back to the days where you're going to get, like, thrown in jail for a year for some weed. Again, this isn't waking and baking. This is a situation where a lot of people maybe have quit drinking, or they can't drink, or they don't want to drink, and these, or they use it for sleep or anxiety or things like that. And these products have shown for a lot of people to be very helpful. But Dan Patrick and the very, very far right of our party, unfortunately, are now pushing for this to be made illegal, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it seems like a weird thing to really hyper-focus on, and it seems weird that Patrick has made it a priority for him. You know, our land commissioner, Sid Miller, has come out actively against it, openly against it, I guess. I think Miller, if I recall correctly, was actually involved in some hemp farm production, but though I may be incorrect, so I would fact-check that. But you know, it really does seem odd that it's become such a huge priority for the legislator, considering there's so many more things that seem important. You know, personally, I'm not a consumer or a user of hemp products or THC products, though I have used one in the past for sleep. But it does seem like a lot of people do benefit from it, especially in a medical instance for like seizures and things like that.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing to hep up on, and I dare say that if you look at his donor list, I think that we would figure out why Dan Patrick is focused on this. Now, I talked with a current sitting state rep the other day. I'm not going to say who it is, but this person told me, and this is what's wild to me. I said to this person, I was like, listen, you know, there needs to be a coalition of Republicans, of common sense people in the state legislature to push back on this. To say, okay, look, we can all agree that there needs to be, these things need to be regulated. You don't want them in front of children. You don't want there to be, you know, battery acid in them, for example. You want it to be a regulated industry. You know, there's 50,000 jobs that this industry promotes and helps. There are people, again, that benefit from this product. And so this is what this person said. This person was like, I totally agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. The priorities are totally out of whack. However, this person said that there's no way this thing isn't going to pass because people are scared to buck up against Dan Patrick. And I'm like, why? Why? Just have a little coalition of people to be like, okay, we can regulate it, make it safe, but why ban it entirely? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Patrick is one of, if not the most powerful politician in the state of Texas. And so it doesn't surprise me that politicians are afraid to go up against what he's pushing, right? And there's several things that have come out that he's really keen on, and you know, we being one of THC being one of them, and then the other is the lottery issue, you know. So yeah, I don't see a lot of politicians coming out against this openly.
Yeah, it's really too bad because it's, again, what's the point? Let's jump to something else that I thought was pretty funny. So the other day, and I mentioned this on the show last week, Sylvester Turner passed away. He had a lot of corruption issues, whatever. That's a whole other ball of wax we could get into at some point. But he did die, and so now the sweepstakes is here in Houston is who's going to take his spot. And there are a few people vying for it. Amanda Edwards, Ron Reynolds, Jolanda Jones. I mean, who in Austin are people talking about this race? Are people vying for position? Like, what are you hearing?
Yeah, I think people are playing it pretty sensitive, right? Because he just passed away, so coming out and, you know, publicly announcing that you're going to try to fill his seat is probably in bad taste. So I think people are kind of keeping their cards close to their chest. I'm hearing that Sheila Jackson Lee's children are probably going to make a run for his spot.
Yes.
Which would be at least entertaining.
Yes, it would.
Additionally horrible. Probably 30 mentally ill Democrats are probably going to run for his spot. Maybe a few state reps, possible, or I should say a state rep is going to probably make a run for his spot, and maybe one or two sane people. So we'll see. But you know, yeah, I think people are just at least laying low.
Look, I got to tell you, I know Jolanda Jones personally, and she and I get along fine personally, but she's as crazy as me. She's as nutty on the left as I am on the right, right? In my heart of hearts, I would love to see a dogfight between Sheila Jackson Lee's progeny and Jolanda Jones. And, you know, maybe an Amanda Edwards, a sane Democrat, can kind of scoot in there. But, I mean, I kind of, you know, as someone who loves the entertainment value of watching these people just completely become irrelevant, I'm all for them, the crazier person to win. I mean, yeah, it's not great for the city, but does anyone think this seat is ever going to be held by a Republican? No. So it's not like this person will have an inordinate amount of power, but it just would be, for entertainment purposes, I want them to be, like, crazy. I think it'd be funny.
Yeah, I'm finding it more often than not that a lot of these crazy people that get popped up, it's just it's content generation and entertainment for sane people.
Yeah, it is. And on that note, Current Revolt Current Revolt's like totally based. You guys need to be reading Current Revolt. But Current Revolt had a story just the other day about Jasmine Crockett, and this is my whole thinking too. If we could get a Jolanda Jones or a Sheila Jackson Lee spawn in this seat, can you imagine the ghetto-offs that these people and Jasmine Crockett would have? Like, they'd be, like, all competing on, like, who's going to be the top dog of Texas Democrats. That would be hilarious. But Jasmine Crockett basically came out and said that illegal alien crossings are actually totally legal, and there's nothing wrong with them. What's up with that?
Yeah, Crockett... it gives me the impression of somebody that just wants to constantly be in the media.
Yeah.
By saying the most absolutely insane things. And one of them being this, she denied that President Trump was actually shot, right? She said it was fake. And then she said, she offered like assistance in a way for assassins. Like the rhetoric that she uses is just, it seems like it doesn't even come from her. It's obviously provided to her things that she hears from the most extreme parts of the left party, of the Democrat Party, and then just repeats them, right? So, yeah, she's another example of a politician who is mostly in office for entertainment purposes. Well,
and she also said the other day, again, with a straight face, this heifer with a straight face is like, I don't think that MAGA Republicans are that bright. It's like, have several seats, Jasmine. I mean, I guess, you got to hand it to her for getting elected to Congress. That does take some skills. And, we're a media-driven society. She's a pretty lady. Like, I'm not going to take away the entertainment value that she is. But I dare say that AOC is probably not so happy to have her on the scene. She probably doesn't like her shine being mustard a little bit.
No, a lot of these Democrats do fight for media spotlights, right? And so I think oftentimes they kind of try to out-crazy each other with speaking points. But, it hits a point where you're just saying stuff that's just way too crazy, and even your colleagues are just trying to distance themselves and be quiet about it.
Yeah, flame on, Democrats. Tony Ortiz, how can people follow you and support what you're doing?
Yeah, biggest thing to support us is just subscribe to our daily newsletter. It's at currentrevolts.com. We just talk about Texas politics and talk Texas politics only. So if you're a Texas resident, we are a must subscribe. It's free. Yep. If you do want to support us, you can support us for $8 a month. But other than that, it is free. And then you can find us on X at Current Revolt.
Yeah, that's how I, find out all about what you're up to. That's why I called you, because I wanted to get your take on all this. All right, Tony. Well, thank you for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon. You're listening to the Angela Box Show. We'll be right back.
Hey, fellow patriots and filthy leftist stalkers. It's Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Okay, Steven and I were talking during the break, and he's like, yeah, I'm really into that chaos. I'm like, yeah, dude, it was like a real rabbit hole. And then he mentioned a show, because Fred and I are always looking for stuff to watch, because Fred and I tend to not watch the same things. Like, he is not into the murder porn at all, which is, like, one of his, like, worst qualities, if you ask me. He doesn't have many bad qualities, but not being into the TV shows I'm in is, like, definitely up there. But anyway, Steven said, he's like, oh, I saw this one a few years ago called Aquarius with David Duchovny, and it was about the Manson murder. So I'm like, okay, into it. And I checked IMDb, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a 7. So 7 is the bare minimum of what I'll watch. And then if you've got to go, as I've said, go read the reviews. Go read the reviews. Generally speaking, if something's before 2019, it's not going to be woke. Like, you're safe. But, of course, anything after 2019, you better read the reviews. Okay. So I have here's something. Okay. Here, put this in the category of we win. Okay. This came out the other day on LifeSite News, which is another good one to get, just like her Revolt is. If you wonder what Casey Anthony has been up to, Casey Anthony has now resurfaced as an anti-Trump, pro-LGBTQ, quote, legal advocate. So let's see. Casey Anthony, the mother unsuccessfully tried for allegedly murdering, my ass. She killed that kid. Everyone knows it. She knows it. God knows it. Everyone knows it. And at this point, this woman is on borrowed time, and she thinks that Satan's going to save her, and he ain't. Murdering her 3-year-old daughter. Wait, let me just say allegedly, because I don't want to get sued by this disgusting harpy, allegedly murdering her 3-year-old daughter. She totally did it. In a 2011 trial that dominated cable news for months on end, has taken to social media in an effort to reinvent herself as a self-described, quote, legal advocate for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it, leftists. Like, you know what? You guys can have her, okay? You get to have Antifa, you get to have the infinite gender people, you get to have the illegal aliens, you get to have the child murderers, you get to have all of them. They are all yours. Have fun. All right, here's something else. I know what I wanted to talk about. I do have a Fred story, but before I get to that, tell me you're taking kickbacks without telling me you're taking kickbacks. So, DOGE is, taking a hatchet to everything. Department of Education is laying off half its workforce. Huzzah and huzzah. That is step one to school choice, ladies and gentlemen. And on that note, before I get to this, tell me you're taking kickbacks without telling me you're taking kickbacks, I will get there. The garden gnome, obvious lesbian because she has no other choice, Randi Weingarten, the head of the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, she came out and said the quiet part out loud, and she was like, yeah, you guys, we can't get rid of the Department of Education. Like parents might actually want to homeschool their kids or send them to parochial school. Oh, Lord forbid it. Yes. The Department of Education, this is the first step in dismantling that awful bureaucracy, which, never forget, this is one of their tendrils into how they control the culture, is by getting your kids in the public school system. Okay, back to this. Jean Shaheen, you're like, who's that? Who cares? She is a Democratic senator. I think she's from New Hampshire. New Hampshire, which has, in the last 2 election cycles, especially 2024, a lot tighter than Democrats would prefer. And can you just Google where Shaheen is? I think she's New Hampshire. Anyway, Jean Shaheen is like, hey, you guys, I just want to let you know I'm not going to run in 2026. And everyone's like, oh, someone was getting some USAID money. Like, look, I'm not saying she did, but come on. Why would anyone who has no money and no prospects, the only thing they're good at is, collecting a check from taxpayers, why would those people who have no discernible life skills or job skills, New Hampshire? Yeah, New Hampshire. Again, trending purple, okay? And I guarantee you it's going to be more red in 2026. Anyway, why would anybody who has some life skills and some employment skills, listen, I'm not speaking of myself. I am very clear that I'm good at only about 5 things. Running my mouth is paramount. That's about the only thing I'm correct. Stephen? He's like, well, what did Plato say? Know thyself, right? Know thyself. So anyway, Democrats get into this game, right? And they think they're going to get rich off it because they look at people like Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters or Adam Schiff or throw a dart that have become exceedingly wealthy going into public service, which is weird. Weird, right? And up until DOGE, people thought it was, maybe a little strange. Certainly people on our side are like, how do these people have all this money? How does the lady who reps South Central, that shriveled old raisin in a wig, Maxine Waters, how does that lady have a $4 million in Hancock Park, which is, as I've mentioned, one of the toniest neighborhoods in all of Los Angeles? Make it make sense. So anyway, obviously now DOGE is uncovering all this. Now, last week, Trump Truth Socialed or tweeted or whatever he did. He said to Elon, he was like, hey, Elon, I know you've been taking a hatchet to everything. Great job, by the way. Keep it up. But now we need to start taking a scalpel to DOGE. DOGE needs to start taking scalpels to things. And I think that was the cue for Elon and his little genius autistic kids to basically start going in and going, okay, who got the money? Because we know that, 50... See, this is why USAID is so insidious. It reminds me of The Sopranos in this regard. Remember when Tony was working with that African-American community leader in Newark, and they were working with they were doing some HUD shakedown. They were basically going and buying these properties in dilapidated inner city neighborhoods, and they were going to, quote, turn them or flip them, and it was going to help the neighborhood and get the neighborhood out of poverty and da-da-da-da-da. And then, of course, later on, when that was, it just didn't happen, it wasn't feasible, then they'd shutter them, but they would have already collected the HUD money. So it was a total scheme. It was just out in the open. They were working together doing this, okay? That's what's been going on. That's what USAID was. And that's what, I think that literally they would tell each other, okay, look, we're going to put, we're going to put $60 million. They won't miss that. It's just $60 million. We're going to put $60 million to study bisexual wasps in the Himalayas, okay? So we're going to have $60 million to study that, all right? And maybe $20,000 will go to studying bisexual wasps in the Himalayas. But the rest of it will get kicked back through this shell company and that shell company and this one over here and that NGO. And who do they all report back to? Of course, Democrats. 9 times out of 10. I don't think it's any coincidence that 97% of USAID political donations went to Democrats. Do you, boys and girls? No, I don't think so. On that note, a vote-buying scheme has been exposed. Stacey Abrams, grimace with a gap in her teeth, that lady, admitted on MSNBC that the Biden EPA handed her $2 billion with a B, to buy new home appliances to reduce electric bills just months before the election. And what? They're so blatant. They're so in your face. They're like, yeah, I did that. It's like Biden going and saying, hey, if you don't fire that prosecutor looking into my kid, you're not going to get the $1 billion from me and Obama. And the Ukrainian guy's like, well, what does Obama have to say about it? It's like, ask him. I mean, that's how blatant they were. They knew they weren't going to get caught. This is why the swamp is so deep and so wide and why it is so hard to drain, because there's tendrils everywhere. And so now Trump taking a scalpel to everything, that's what we're getting ready to come to find out. What else did I want to talk about? Here's something else. In the fourth segment, maybe we'll get into this a little bit more. Tom Homan is taking a blowtorch to all the illegal aliens, and I love that they're repurposing the CBP app. The app that the Biden administration made that basically told illegal aliens, hey, here's a phone, and here's the app you can use to break into our country. And here's all the services and money we're going to give you in order to become Democrat voters, which is the only reason they did it. Obviously. There is no other reason on God's green earth for Democrats to want to import the third world, except they think that was going to keep them in power perpetually, which Trump is the only person who could have disrupted that. The only person, period, the end. So now Trump has repurposed that app, and he is going to tell the illegal aliens, hey, you know what? You have a choice. You can use this app, and it's going to tell you how to get out of our country, how to leave. You can leave. You can self-deport and take your kids with you, because they are now rounding up families, which I don't have a problem with that. Keep the mothers and the children together. Okay? Keep your families together. Deport them all at once. And then, guess what we're going to do? If you self-deport, as Tom Homan has said, you might get a chance to come back. You will get a chance to come back. If you do the right thing and you leave, you go back to your country of origin, then at some point, when we get this whole thing calmed down a little bit, you can come back in a legal way. If you choose not to, you will be deported and you will not be able to come back. So I love how they're repurposing an app that was used to break the law. And now Trump is like, let's use it for good instead of evil. I love it. I'm into it. All right, one more segment. You're listening to the Angela Box Show.
Infuriating the far left, Democrats, socialists, and communists. It's Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
All right, in Ding Dong the Witch is Dead news, our friends of BM, a.k.a. Black Lives Matter, are no longer going to be terrorizing the denizens of Washington, D.C. with their stupid mural on the street. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. Yes, the Black Lives Matter mural has been painted over, and Trump was basically like, well, you have a choice. Muriel Bowser, who denied National Guard troops during January 6th, which That's going to come out real soon. We're going to be talking about January 6th real soon, you guys. Because evidently, Kash Patel has already handed over the January 6th bomber deets to a congressional committee, so that should be fun. Anyway, she told Muriel Bowser, listen, sis, you can either paint over that thing, that monstrosity, that divisive, stupid thing, or you can stop getting funding for the city. Like, your choice. We're good either way, but, you know, you have a choice here. And she was like, fine, I'll paint over it. So bye-bye, BM. And never forget how awful Black Lives Matter was. One of, if not the most divisive movements, culturally, politically, entertainment, sports, all of it, in our country's history. And it was very much a coordinated thing. It was coordinated with the media. It was coordinated with Hollywood. It was probably coordinated through USAID. Like, we're going to come to find out. Like, does anyone, this is one of the things that came out real early with DOGE. You know, George Soros was getting $250 million to his NGOs from us. Does anyone think that he was actually paying to fund these BM protests by himself? Of course he wasn't. We were paying for it. So that's all going to come out too. And then you look into, again, why they don't want to close the Department of Education, because they don't, y'all, it is so insidious. And as a former teacher, this has always really bothered me. And I talk about it a lot on the show. When I look at how the Democrat Party has destroyed the black community on purpose, again, it's like why they wanted to import the third world into America illegally, because they want power. So they thought, oh, we can get some black people forever voting Democrat if we just destroy their communities. Like, let's do it. And how better to do it, but let's start in schools. I mean, it's all so interconnected, you guys. It's all so interconnected. And that's why it's so hard to break it apart. And that's why people like Jasmine Crockett, who, like, the lady is not, I don't know her background. I don't know if she's a lawyer. God help us all. I don't know what she was before she got into Congress. She was like, you know what she is? She's a boil on the butt of Congress. She just popped up out of nowhere. Anyway, she said last week, we talked about Jasmine Crockett with Tony, that, you know, illegal aliens are perfectly, like, they have absolute legal authority to do this. Like, okay. Then she says, with not even batting a massive false eyelash, okay? She says this with a straight face. She said that 80% of all violent crimes are committed by white supremacists. I can't with this dummy. Let's talk about what the real statistic is. The uncomfortable statistic that you're not allowed to talk about, but we're going to talk about it. Because you can't fix something unless you talk about it. And, you know, white lady over here can't do this. It has to be within the black community. And the reason that Trump resonated with the black community as much as he did and as much as he does is because he tells the truth. 43% of all murders in the United States are committed by 3% of the population, and that is black men, okay? It is an uncomfortable statistic, and it is a true statistic. So when you want to empty the prisons because of everyone's in there's black, which is what happened with BM because of groups like BLM, which grifted to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars and did jack poop for the black community. But one of the things they did was push for sentence reformation. And unfortunately, Trump got sucked into that with that big, giant butt Kim Kardashian for some reason. He's like, well, let me hear this lady out. We're like, oh, let's just release all the criminals. That'll make it safer. No, stupid. Anyway, Black Lives Matter is going bye-bye. I say good riddance. Put a stake in the heart of that Dracula. They're done. And I'm here for it. Okay. Here's something else that's just so delicious. The Democrats are taking literally every 20% side of every issue. With the trannies playing with the boys in the girls' sports and the men in the women's locker rooms. I mean, they're like standing for the trannies, okay? They're like, these are our people. It's like, okay, thank you. Thank you for proving your complete irrelevance. I mean, I jokingly say we're going to win 2/3 of the Congress in 2026, But if they keep doing these things, which they've made their bed with these lunatics, with Antifa, with Black Lives Matter, with the radical LGBTQ, they have made their bed with these people. So them even trying to scoot back the other way to the center, like Gavin Newsom is trying to do, and pretending he's never used the term Latinx, and all of a sudden he's like, well, I've never wanted boys to play in girls' sports. Why, I never said that a child could change their gender without a parent's knowledge. That's right-wing conspiracy. Okay, Gavin. Come on. You made your bed with these people. Lay in it. That's what's going to be so fun, is when he runs for president, because obviously that's why he's trying to moderate himself now. But we have receipts and the internet's forever, and X is free and open. So good luck with that, Gavin. Anyway, here's another 20% issue. Like, it's crazy to me. There is this, one of Trump's things that he's doing is that he is deporting. He's saying he's not going to only deport illegal aliens, but he's going to be deporting visa holders, green card holders, who are rabidly anti-American, okay? So there's this guy named Mahmoud Khalil, okay? This is the latest cause celeb for the left. Mahmoud Khalil is their new Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione is the murderer of the U.S., I can't think of the name, the healthcare, U.S. health, whatever, the healthcare killer, the CEO killer, who they love. And they're like, oh, he's so good looking. He's like Che Guevara. He's so handsome. Anyway, that's how crazy they are. Okay, so Mahmoud Khalil, you're like, who's this? Well, Mahmoud Khalil got a student visa to go to Columbia, and you didn't, okay? He's in Columbia. He's at Columbia University, which is a hotbed of anti-Semitism, which has just lunatics littering the whole campus. Anti-Jewish sentiment everywhere. And it's not just that he's an anti-Jew. It's like, okay, that's a garden variety anti-Semite. That's your, random Muslim. Sorry, not sorry. It is what it is. He's not only rabidly anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, he was passing out flyers on the campus of Columbia praising Hamas for October 7th. Like saying, go, do more of this. And so Trump's like, get him the hell out of here. Why are we opening our doors to these people? So again, being the absolute idiots that they are, the Democrats have taken the position, the double bagger Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar comes to mind. They're like, again, standing for this. They're like, this is our person. These are our people. No, we want these jihadists in America. Like, please, more of them. We would like to have more of them on our college campuses. We would like to have the American people pay for more of these people to have student visas on our college campuses. And Trump was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So again, taking the 20% side of an issue that is so obvious. It's so obvious to anybody. Okay, one last thing. Hopefully this scandal will grow. It will. Like, Trump sleeps on nothing. On nothing. Joe Biden's AutoPen scandal. Okay, so he famously pardoned his entire crime family and Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff and a bunch of, like, literal convicted murderers, like, took them off death row. And, well, now we come to find out that he signed them with an AutoPen. So he didn't actually sign these things. Now, we've all seen Donald Trump in the Oval Office signing 400,000 executive orders with that big signature, and we all see him doing that. Well, evidently, on a lot of these pardons and executive orders, some of the craziest ones that we got at the final hours of the Biden administration, they weren't signed by Joe Biden. In fact, Joe Biden was off vacationing and sleeping on a beach somewhere in St. Croix when a bunch of these pardons were signed. So basically, that's fraud, and fraud vitiates everything. One last thing, reciprocal tariffs. Fred has been bugging me about this. If they don't start saying reciprocal tariffs more, Fred's head is going to explode, because he is the analyst that I'm going to marry, and he is like, they are lying to you, that is fraud, because they're saying, when you say tariffs, it's like saying fire in a theater. Reciprocal tariffs is not saying fire, because they tax us 10%. We tax them 10%. It's reciprocal. So Fred is like, this is malfeasance, what the market is going through right now, because they are lying to the American people and the world. But that's a story for another day. All right, Stephen, you excited? He's super excited. He's into it. You've been listening to the Angela Box Show. Until next time, everybody, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace!